All right. So, in the last video, I talked a little bit about the metrics that we use in the early parts of our program. Now I'm going to talk about the metrics we introduce in the middle and kind of run to the end and the whys. So I mentioned in about halfway through, like week 5-ish, we introduced the build drill rundown because we've just begun to work on aggressive movement, shooting on the move, running to a specific place, arriving, kind of feet spread apart, uh, center of gravity low, gun coming up, connected to the target prior to when your feet stop, as opposed to running there, standing up straight, then deciding to build your grip and bring it up in front of your face, kind of all as things that happen after you get there. Instead, we're really trying to get the recruits used to doing it, all the non-shooting stuff sooner, kind of stacking those skills together where applicable, doing some things at the same time so that they can begin to shoot sooner, so that they don't actually have to shoot faster. So along with build drill rundown in week 5, we also begin to introduce the dynamic marksmanship assessment drills, referred to them as DMAD drills in the podcast a few times. And those were designed and implemented by Adrian Yoon of Sierra One Training Objectives, I think. I think that's right. I'll put a link to his site in the description down below. But he's the one who developed them, and I think they're fantastic. Ever since we've started implementing them, they've been a huge hit. The recruits love them. We've seen a lot of positive transference, a lot of benefit to them. But if you don't know what they are, you can put DMAD drills or dynamic marksmanship assessment drills into YouTube, and you'll get videos about them. Adrian's got videos showing him shooting the different stages. There's also a video that shows a like first person shooter, like hat cam style, of him shooting each stage. I think there's 12 of them now, but originally there were 6. So it shows the video of him shooting the stage, and then below it is an officer involved shooting, like an actual body worn camera or dash cam video of an officer involved shooting that has a lot of the same skills required. It's not necessarily one-to-one, like this stage is that shooting, but it's more like Adrian spent a lot of time looking at a lot of different videos, and he noticed patterns of what were the same themes and recurring skills that were needed in officer involved shootings, the ones that kept showing up. And then he designed stages that mimicked those things. And so you can watch this video and it'll show like, hey, here's stage 1, and then here's a shooting that looks similar to stage 1 or has a lot of the same requirements. Here's stage 2, and here's a video or a couple of body worn camera officer involved shootings that look very similar and have a lot of the same required skills and themes as that stage. And it goes all the way through. We actually show that video to our recruits prior to starting DMAD to give them an introduction to what this is, why we do it, and where it's going. And it's a pretty big hit. They seem to like it. They take it very seriously. And then they enjoy excuse me, and then they enjoy the DMAD also, just because running around and shooting dynamically is a lot of fun, but they get a lot out of it as well. So we introduced that in week 5. We score it every time, just like you would, like we score it the same way you would a match. We use tablets, score it with hit factor. We don't use USPSA targets for the DMAD stuff. We actually have a photorealistic threat target that is like one of our standard threat targets. It's got a 4-inch face circle, and then the rest of the head, and then it's got an 8-inch chest circle, and then outside of that, it's got like, I've heard it called like the tombstone, but it's like a 14-inch by I think like a 10-inch larger tombstone shaped or oval shaped scoring ring, and then there's outside of that there's an inch or 2 of silhouette left. And so we actually use hit factor scoring on our threat targets. So the small face circle and the big chest circle are the A zone. Anything outside of the face circle on the head or outside the A zone circle on the chest but inside the tombstone is a C for Charlie zone. And then anything that's still on the silhouette is a delta. Anything that's in the white off the silhouette or completely misses the cardboard is a miss. So we have them shooting threat targets for kind of the photorealism for however much use that is. But it also is nice because our threat circles are kind of high thoracic as opposed to the A zones, which are just more centered on a target, on like a USPSA target. But we have them shoot the DMAD stuff on our photorealistic targets, but we still score at hit factor. And the scoring zones are, it actually comes out to be very, very similar. If you shoot it on a USPSA versus our threat targets, the scoring zone and available area tends to be really similar. So we see a lot of the same scores, which is nice. So we have them shoot that on week 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And then on week 9 is the kind of the final aggregate scoring of everything. And we use DMAD for that as well. When we do hit factor scoring, we actually use timers and tablets, but we use a really easy app called Simple IPSC Scoring. Inside the app, it looks kind of like this. It's available on Android and iPhone, and you can plug in and create stages that are always available at quick adds up here. So you can see I've got 3 DMAD stages and a build drill. You can add all your shooters so they're quick to access. And then it's actually got different buttons for Alpha, Charlie, Delta, Mike, procedurals if you need them. And what's really nice is it's actually got double Alpha buttons. It's got an Alpha Charlie button, a double Charlie button. So when you're scoring targets quickly, like in DMAD where you may have 12 hits on one target, so you're like, oh, I need 8 alphas. You just tap that double Alpha button, 4 times. That's really nice. It makes it go really quick. And the way we run our stages, we can get a skills group of 18 kids through DMAD in 3 and maybe 30 to 40 minutes, depending on how new they are at it. Takes a little more time earlier in the program, and then kind of later once they're really good at it and they understand how squad logistics work and how taping and resetting works, it goes a lot quicker. But it will set up like a build drill on station 1 and then 3 DMAD stages 1, 2, and 3. And so we'll have build drill, shooter come up, they shoot the build drill, we record the time. And then another instructor's got a timer and they have the shooter on DMAD stage 1, they shoot, record the time. Stage 2 shoots, they record the time. Stage 3 shoots, that instructor records the time. Then everybody goes forward, we score all the targets, and the rest of the squad tapes and resets, and then we just rotate. Everybody goes down 1, just like you would in a match where you're shooting a split bay where you've got 2 stages on 1 bay. And you just rotate over and we do it again. And like I say, it goes really quick. We can get through 9 or 10 person squad in like 30 to 40 minutes. And then we can rotate. And usually the other half of our skills group that's on the range for the day is off on a different range doing something else, whether it's a Milo simulator or they're doing some other work, but like they're off doing something else. Then we just flip flop them. So it takes maybe an hour to an hour and a half to get everybody through it. And then after week 5, once we're doing it again, 6, 7, 8, 9, we also will take some time either after that half squad has shot it. So the first group of 8 or 9 or the second group, whatever, after they've shot it, we'll give them 5 or 10 minutes to airgun and practice the problematic pieces on whatever stages they want. Or sometimes we will just take that time and put it at the beginning and let them visualize airgun the stages, and they get to work on the pieces they remember they had trouble from the last time they ran it. So whether it's this movement piece or getting the gun up early when they arrive in this position or whatever the problems are, they walk it, air gun it, stage plan it just like you would in a match and make their plans. And then that way when we go to shoot it, they've already got those pieces working in. So kind of let them practice it a little bit. And I think that's really helpful. It gets them involved. It gets them thinking about visualization, gets them buying into how important that is and how useful it is. And we see a lot of improvement in overall scores anyway when they're able to do that. So that's all the metrics. I mean, we all the metrics that we run regularly. There's a few other in there, like our standardized post test, our low light test, this one we call the SIG Masters qual, which all of those look very much like typical law enforcement qualifications. You've got several strings. Each one has a set time where the targets edge and then edge back, or they face and edge back. You have so many rounds you're supposed to fire, give it, whatever the test is, right? It's a 2 reload 1, or, you have an empty chamber and you've got a tap tilt rack and fire 3 before the target goes away, whatever it is, typical law enforcement type stuff. So we have those mixed in there as well. And then on day 9, we have the whole morning is just skills testing. We just run through assessment after assessment after assessment. We record all the scores, and they all get scored in aggregate for their overall. So on that last day, we score the B8. They shoot a B8 for the final time. We've scored that one. They run our standard post test for score. They run the low light score for low light qual for score. The SIG Masters, which, like I said, it's just a standard, very, very similar to any typical law enforcement type qualification. The times are a little tight, tighter than a lot of law enforcement quals, and depending on the scoring area used, it can be a bit challenging. It's not anything crazy. But we have those three in there as more of a standardized law enforcement qual style to kind of give a pool of points available for this overall aggregate, because the rest of what we do the bill drill and the DMAD stages as hit factor scored. And so the way that works, everybody's for those that aren't familiar, hit factor scoring is simply your overall points scored divided by time is your hit factor, and the hit factor is your actual score. So we used to use like a true match style scoring, which whoever in the class was the highest set the high hit factor. They got 100% of the points. So if each of the DMAD stages are worth 45 points, the bill drill stage is worth 20 points. If you had the high hit factor, you got all 45 points for that particular stage. And then if somebody had a hit factor that was 50% of that high hit factor, then they got 50% of the 45 points. So they got 22.5 points, and so on and so forth. Their point total was based on the percentage. And that worked okay. The problem we had was we had some really good shooters that were setting very high hit factors relative to everyone else. And we were looking at this going, it's only a matter of time before somebody comes through who's a really outstanding shooter. Maybe they're an M or a GM already, and they're just crushing souls, meaning they're setting hit factors that are so unbelievably high due to their experience and skill level before they ever even got into the program, that everybody else in the class who's still doing things right essentially is being penalized for not even being able to sniff what the times and hit factors they're laying down. And because all of this goes to their aggregate score, which then gets put into their overall academy score, which is then used to determine their badge number, which goes towards seniority, days off bid, vacation bid, whether they're working nights, days, swings, whether they, anything that has seniority attached to it, it's all part of that. It's like we didn't really want to, we tried to make it equitable and keep a sense of fairness to it while also respecting the spirit of hit factor scoring. So what we ended up doing was we looked back at our historical averages for those DMAD stages over several classes, and we kind of figured out like what's the average, like what is the class average, the historical average, and we made that the 80% score. So then if somebody comes in and they shoot the historical average, they get 80% of the total points, whether it's whatever 80% of 45 is, or 50, or whatever the total points is. And then if somebody comes in and they shoot above that, maybe they're shooting the 100% score. And so because of that, you do have people who can come in and they can shoot over. If they come in and just absolutely crush it, they could get 110% of the average score. So they got 110% of 45 points. So they actually end up with extra points. That's not exactly how hit factor match scoring works. But we were trying to keep it equitable while also maintaining a bit of a sense of the spirit of hit factor scoring, because ultimately we want them to be trying to balance that razor's edge of speed and accuracy at the same time, be as fast as they can while being accurate as possible, and understanding how that changes depending on target difficulty distance, where they're at, whether they're moving, all that stuff. And so, over 50% of our aggregate shooting score is based on hit factor scoring. So we wanted to try to maintain as much of that spirit as we could, while also avoiding the possibility of having somebody roll through and just absolutely decimate everyone else in the class and basically zero them out because they can't even get close. So that was kind of how we arrived at at that idea. And so then the way it works is we have a big spreadsheet. I built a spreadsheet with all the formulas and everything. We plug all those scores in as we go, and they have rolling averages. And then at the end, they calculate their overall score, and that it spits out in another place. And so each class has its own spreadsheet, so I can go back and look class over class over class and look at class averages. I can look at individual skills group averages. Our classes are generally big enough. They're 55 to 60 people. We cannot have that many people in the range. We don't have the facilities for it. So they're typically split into 3 skills groups. So on skills on day 1, or skills group 1 comes to us on a Tuesday, but then skills group 2 comes to us on a Wednesday. Skills group 3 comes to us on a Thursday. We teach the same thing, essentially do the same curriculum 3 days in a row. But they're all being evaluated against each other. But we can also get a skills group average, an individual shooter average over time, group over group average, a class average. We can look at historical averages over time. Like there's all this different data. We can look at it and slice it different ways to make assessments if we need to, which is really handy. Ultimately, it's what we want. Now, we lean heavily on hit factor scoring, although it's not the only metrics we use. We still have a few standardized ones in there that are more law enforcement legacy style. But we've kind of arrived at these because they work well. The hit factor piece of decision making in real time, deciding what confirmation to use, assessing whether or not what they're doing is working, is a makeup shot necessary, should I send one, where do I need to move to, when can I start shooting, all of those pieces that hit factor and practical shooting pieces encourage. That's why we lean so heavily into it. Most of our assessments are hit factor based, practical shooting forward. And that's the general idea. That's what we're looking for. We have ditched a bunch of old legacy style, much more of the target edges. You've got 5 seconds. The target goes away. You better stop shooting, because in reality, having a red shirt standing there telling you you're going to shoot 5 rounds, you're going to do a reload after round 3, you're going to be at 6 yards, you're going to have 7 seconds. Like none of that is realistic. None of it is transferable. It's not relevant to anything. So we try to get rid of as much as possible. So the metrics that we've been using for several classes now, nothing's ever set in stone. I said that they're standardized, but we're not loyal to anything in so much that we could pluck one drill out and put in a different one if we find one that's better. I'm constantly talking to other guys and other programs to find out what they're doing, how are they doing it, is it something they have better, more effective. And I'm not beholden to anything. If I find a test or a skill or an evaluation or a drill that's better than one of the ones we have, like I will dump one of the ones we have and put that in there immediately, because I don't care. I'm just trying to make our program as good as possible. So I'm not really loyal to anything. And I will not hesitate. I'm not emotional about cutting some or all of it to put in better stuff at the drop of a hat if I find it. So that's kind of why we use what we use and how we've gotten there. The shape of what we've got has been that way for several classes now without any big changes, but we're always massaging things here and there a little bit, just trying to make it as good as possible. But I am interested if anybody has got some good metrics that they use. You want to drop down in the comments below and kind of explain why. I'd love to hear about it. And of course, if you've got any other questions or any other topics you want covered, feel free to leave them in the notes down below. And I appreciate it. I hope it helps. Take care.